I was exhausted when I pulled into the gravel driveway of my lakeside cabin, a place I hadn't seen in nearly 3 years. After caring for my father through the final stages of Parkinson's and losing my wife not long after, I just wanted peace. The cabin had always been that for me, a sanctuary where the air smelled like pine and the water reflected every shade of the sky. But the moment I stopped the truck, peace was the last thing I found. Bright red no trespassing signs screamed from the fence, the mailbox, the trees. Even the gate had been plastered with laminated notices in bold black letters. It looked like my property had been seized by the government. My chest tightened. I hadn't authorized any of this. And then I saw her. A tall woman in a sharp gray suit stood in the middle of my yard holding a tablet, filming like she owned the place. A clipboard rested on her arm, stacked with papers. She had the kind of calm, deliberate movements that made you think she'd been rehearsing this moment. "These are my signs," I shouted, tearing one from a tree. "You owe $49,000 in assessments," she replied smoothly, her voice cold as steel. The number hit me like a bat to the ribs. "What the hell are you talking about? This is my land, paid off years ago." She didn't flinch. "The Crescent Valley Lake Homeowners Association has levied liens for non-payment. As of this morning, penalties and legal fees bring your balance to $49,600 and counting. I'm here to enforce collection." I froze. HOA? I had never signed up for one. This was my family's cabin, built before half the neighborhood even existed. She must have seen my confusion, because her lips curled into something between a smirk and a sneer. "You'll find that property obligations don't disappear just because you were absent. You can't post signs on my wife's garden," I snapped, pointing toward the fenced patch where lilacs bloomed in memory of her. Sure enough, the gate had been chained shut with a notice taped across it. "Asset protection extends to all features," she said, tapping on her tablet. "Sentimental designations don't override community regulations." The casual way she dismissed my wife's memorial made my blood boil. I ripped another sign down, my hands shaking. My neighbor Carl appeared across the road, already holding up his phone, recording. "She's been here since dawn," he yelled, posting signs like it's the damn apocalypse. I wanted to scream, to grab her clipboard and shred it. Instead, I clenched the paper in my hand. "Who even are you?" She slipped a card from her briefcase and held it out like a judge handing down a sentence. "Marissa Cole, HOA Compliance Officer." That name triggered something distant, a flicker of memory I couldn't place. She tucked the briefcase under her arm and walked briskly to a spotless SUV. I caught a glimpse of the business card as she turned away. Under the printed name, faint scratch marks revealed something else. Letters almost rubbed out. Coleman. The SUV sped away, leaving me in the dust, my property scarred with warnings and liens. And as I stared at the name, the memory slammed into me. Freshman year of college, a girl named Marissa Coleman. The one I dated for 2 semesters before walking away when things got serious. I had been young, careless, selfish. She had been devastated. And now she was back. That night, unable to sleep, I dug through an old box of college photos I hadn't touched in decades. There she was. Dark hair, bright smile, hand in mine at a fraternity formal. The caption scrolled on the back, "Marissa and Nate forever." I slammed the box shut. Surely this wasn't the same woman. People don't hold grudges for 25 years. But then again, normal people don't cover a cabin in warning signs either. The next day, Marissa, or Marissa Cole as she called herself now, returned with reinforcements. 2 men in construction vests hammered stakes into the ground along my property line. She filmed each one like she was cataloging evidence for court. I stormed outside. "You can't just take over my land." Her expression was as blank as a marble statue. "Mr. Dawson, you are in contempt of community bylaws. Any interference will be reported." I ripped one of the stakes out of the ground and threw it. "This is harassment." "Harassment would imply personal motives," she said coolly. "This is procedure." But I heard the edge in her voice when she said my name, like she savored it. My son Tyler drove up that evening with his laptop. He'd been a law clerk for a public defender's office in Denver, and when I showed him the papers she'd left, he whistled low. "Dad, these are structured like debt collection notices, but the math, is insane. 300% penalty rates, compounded monthly. No legitimate HOA does this. Then what the hell is going on? I asked. He scrolled quickly, his face tightening. Look at this. These notices started 8 months before the first alleged missed payment. She was preparing this before you even defaulted, which means? It means this isn't about debt, he said grimly. It's about you. Carl stopped by later with his own findings. Through his contacts and insurance investigations, he dug into Marissa's record. She's been filing lawsuits against exes for years, he told me. Ex-husband, old boyfriends, even former clients. Every time a relationship ends, she weaponizes the law, and she wins by bleeding people dry. The realization chilled me. She wasn't just here to collect money. She was here to destroy me. Within a week, the fight escalated into a community spectacle. Half my neighbors sided with me, outraged at her audacity. The other half, terrified of lawsuits, stayed silent. Social media exploded with arguments, some calling me a deadbeat who thought rules didn't apply, others calling her a predator. And then came the lawsuit. $2.4 million for intentional infliction of emotional distress dating back to college. She claimed my breakup had destroyed her life, derailed her career, caused years of therapy. The legal filing read like a psychological thriller. My stomach dropped as Tyler read through it. Dad, if she gets a sympathetic judge, you could lose everything. She's not just after the cabin anymore. The night before the first hearing, security cameras Carl had set up caught Marissa creeping around my property at 3 a.m. with surveying equipment. She photographed every inch of my wife's garden, documenting it like an asset to be liquidated. She's cataloging your life, Carl whispered as we watched the footage. This isn't normal. This is obsession. The court battle was worse than I imagined. Her legal team painted me as irresponsible, someone who neglected community obligations while chasing personal indulgence. They stacked binders of fabricated fees, penalties, and bylaw clauses. Every page made me look like a man who'd abandoned his neighbors. When it was my turn, I stood shaking before the judge. Your Honor, I gave everything to my family. My father's care, my wife's treatments. If that makes me irresponsible, then so be it. But I will not stand here and let a homeowners association destroy my wife's memory because of a grudge from 25 years ago. The gallery was silent. Some people wiped their eyes. But the real blow came when Tyler cross-examined Marissa. Miss Cole, when did you first contact my father? 3 days after his wife's death certificate was filed, she answered without hesitation. And when did you begin researching his property records? That's irrelevant. 8 months before the alleged debt began, correct? She shifted in her seat. Standard due diligence. He leaned forward. How many ex-partners have you pursued legally? Objection, her lawyer barked. But the damage was done. The jury watched her composure crack. The professional mask slipping, and then she snapped. I don't care about the others, she shouted, her voice shaking. Nathan was mine first. He was supposed to marry me. His wife stole him, and I've spent 25 years waiting for justice. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge hammered his gavel, demanding order. But Marissa wasn't finished. Every skill I learned, every case I took, was to prepare for this moment. He needs to pay. He needs to feel what I felt. The confession went viral instantly. The courtroom live stream had over 500,000 viewers. By the time she was escorted out, the world knew this wasn't about community bylaws. It was about obsession. But it didn't end there. That night, Carl's cameras caught her again, this time hauling equipment to the edge of my wife's memorial garden. She set up floodlights, tripods, cameras. It looked like a stage. By midnight, she was live streaming to an audience of nearly 2 million, screaming at my wife's grave. You stole him from me, Sarah. You should apologize. I stood frozen at the monitor, listening to her rant at the dead. When she began spray painting over the stone inscriptions, my knees buckled. She's desecrating her memorial, I whispered. Carl grabbed the phone. We're calling 911. Police cars screeched down the dirt road minutes later. The live stream showed her being handcuffed while screaming, "This isn't over." I have insurance policies you can't imagine. And then, as if fate wanted to twist the knife, Tyler got a call from an unknown number. A voice, low and shaky. Your father should know. She wasn't working alone. The line went dead. In the weeks that followed, everything unraveled for her. The state bar suspended her license. Former clients came forward with identical stories of harassment and financial exploitation. Lawsuits piled up. Her assets were seized. The HOA she represented dissolved under scrutiny, revealed as a shell for her schemes. But her threats lingered in my mind. Even behind bars, I felt her presence like a shadow. The community rallied around me, rebuilding the garden she'd defaced. Neighbors planted flowers, built benches, raised funds to expand the memorial into a sanctuary for everyone who'd lost loved ones. For the first time in years, I felt part of something larger than my grief, and slowly I learned to breathe again. Marissa destroyed her career, her reputation, her freedom, all for revenge. What she never understood was the difference between love and obsession. Love wants the other person to be happy, even if it doesn't include you. Obsession only wants control. I chose my wife 25 years ago. I would choose her again today. And no homeowners association, no vendetta, no decades-old grudge could ever take that from me.